All information contained in this podcast is general in nature and does not consider your individual circumstances. You should consider the appropriateness of this information with regards to your individual objectives, financial situation, and needs. Welcome to Sharing More Than the Sheets, a podcast to help you and your partner make better financial and lifestyle decisions so that you can both focus on the things that you love. I'm your host, Michael Khouri, financial planner, green thumb, husband, and just dad. As an advisor, there are a lot of topics that I talk about, especially for someone like me that specializes with couples. And a lot of it is, of course, money related, and there are certain parts of it that aren't money related. And for me, I'm not a qualified counsellor in any way, shape, or form. So I thought the best thing to do would be to invite a qualified registered counsellor onto the podcast. Now with me, I've got Marianna Boules. Marianna works with individuals and couples. And today I really just wanted to dig down on some tips for a healthy marriage. Marianna, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks, Michael, for having me. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's when we had a chat the other week, we were talking about, I was talking to you about how the type of discussions I have with my clients. You were telling me about the things you do. For me, it's very practical. I haven't studied counselling in any way, shape, or form, and you have. So you come at things, of course, from a more of a theory, from a theory-based perspective. But it was really interesting to see how different, but how similar the type of conversations are that we have.
Yep.
Could we probably start by just talking about, when it comes to having a happy marriage, like no marriage is perfect. We know that nothing is perfect. But there are things that couples can do. And I don't know where you want to begin, but I think probably just by starting off just about a bit about you and your background, and just getting straight into it, because I'd love to honestly learn a bit from this myself. And I'm really excited to be talking about this.
Okay. So I'll give you a bit about myself first, maybe. So obviously my name is Marianna. I'm Egyptian. So I came to Australia 18 years ago, maybe. And I have an accounting and business background myself. And in the last maybe 6 to 7 years, I decided to take on a different path, which is the counseling path, which I fell in love with. I just want to have a bit of knowledge on how to deal with people, how to understand myself. Just around this time, I think there was an era that we have more of tools and knowledge around understanding the self and understanding and better communications with others. So I was just going to study just a short course, and then I found myself finishing my master's in counseling, which was a beautiful journey. I do work with individuals with different background, trauma, depression, and anxiety, even sometimes about life transition and how we take a life together and what's going on in your life and how we can make things better and have more healthy relationships. And then later on, I had the couple therapy coming on board, which I followed the approach of the Gottman therapy, which is a very evidence-based research, with 40 years research-based, to be honest, which is really beautiful one. Quite structured with lots of flexibility in between to help people to have an enjoyable journey, should I say, because as any other relationship, we have hiccups along the way. And I do now premarital counseling as well, because I believe if we can educate and equip people, why not? Which will be even better to you.
I agree, because I'm sure there are so many situations that you come up against where you know that if they had maybe taken on some of this advice early on in their relationship or at the start of the relationship, potentially they'd be in a different position today, and education, I think, helps a lot with, I don't want to call it prevention, but just, being able to manage certain situations better.
Yes, I agree. I believe that the bigger, probably I'll use the word investment, the bigger things in our life, like parenting and marriage, no one tells us how to do it. So we basically come with the experience we personally have been through. So adding some tools and knowledge, obviously, hopefully, will make things a little bit better. So that's where I come from.
Yeah.
yeah, to have a healthy, enjoyable experience, I would say.
And what would you say the first tip is, like when it comes to having a happy and healthy marriage, or a happy and healthy relationship? What would you say is tip number one?
Tip number one for me is keep dating each other forever. With marriage, you always kind of, I think we grew up with all these beautiful movies where at the end it just comes up with people living happily forever after, and just this is the end of the movie, which they get married. Actually, this is the beginning of the journey. And with life getting busier and busier, we kind of forget on about dating each other because we're still friends. And this is reminds us of why we chose each other. And we actually love spending time together with each other to understand more each other and to probably we use some of the Gottman terminology. We kind of along the way we forgot about our love maps. How we know we need to know more about each other, and we continue knowing about each other. So this would be my first tip, that it's nice to have dates, and this
Yes.
can be daily, weekly, monthly, whatever people agree. But it's definitely need to take it serious, and we actually stick to it. I know it gets busy. We might end up having busy schedules, but it's nice to keep in place. It can be as simple as having a meal together at night time. It can be just going for a coffee date together. And especially when you have kids in the mix, it gets harder and harder.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's yeah, it's one of those things where all couples forget about it over time. And we've all seen that cute, you know, 90-year-old couple at the park or
Mm,
somewhere buying, with the
yeah, they're
husband's
lovely.
handing his wife flowers and everyone looks at them and, and everyone obviously, that hearts melt just looking at that, like they're so old, but they're still
Mm,
so romantic. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Like they never gave up on that, and it's true because, it's in our lives, like especially if someone has children, but whether it's children or work or business or anything, it's or community, it can easily absorb someone and they suddenly start neglecting things and they forget about the other person. And I always
yep,
have to be reminded of it. Always, always. Like my wife and
we
I, we're,
all
we're pretty
do.
good at it, but I always need that
That's good.
reminder.
Yeah, I myself as well fall in this trap sometimes. It's just we have to bring it to the forehead as any important things we do that actually we need to stick to it so we can keep doing it.
Yeah, and would I be right in saying that just like the example I gave, that the old 80-year-old man giving his wife flowers,
Mm,
at the park, he's probably done that every week since they got married, 50 years ago, for example. And the reason he's probably done that is because it's become part of his habit or his lifestyle, and for us, would I be right in saying that that's also another good way to look at it, where, if couples can include it in their weekly diaries or their calendar or
rituals,
their
yeah.
rituals, yeah, because otherwise honestly, it's like I talk about it with budgeting all the time. Like a week will pass, a month will pass, and suddenly 3-4 months
Yep,
later, nothing's happened.
yep, agree, agree. And you know what is it's one of my tips as well. I always tell my couples it's hard because nowadays we've got all these disruptions with our phones. And one of the tips we give to couples when you date each other or when you're spending good quality time, even if home having coffee in the morning, coffee or having dinner, just keeps your phone away. Because so many distraction, we meant to have this time just for ourselves together because this will help the flow of, okay, let me get to know you, let me spend time with you, let me get to connect with you. And this will help as well as understanding other person love language. Are they maybe going through tough times during work and they need to something to help them with that? Maybe I didn't express my love language to the other partner for a long time and then say depends on what their love language, whether it's acts of service or word of affirmation, whatever it might be. Maybe they're going through some rough times and we need to bring this up to cheer them up as well along the way.
Yeah. And can you just expand on that love language thing? Because I only heard about it like 5 years ago. And when I heard it, I was like, oh my God, like this makes so much sense. Like there's, like with me and my wife, for example, and I was like, wow, I wish I knew this before I got married. I wouldn't, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have changed anything, of course, but I would have maybe been more aware of certain things, and so, can you just explain that? I know it's from memory, I think it's a whole book. So you can talk about it for the
Yes.
next 10 hours, but very briefly, if you can just explain it to those that haven't heard of that concept of love language
Mm.
and I guess why they should be aware of it or not should, but why it would help for a couple to be aware of it.
Yeah. So the love languages, there are five of them, and it's a notion coined by Gary Chapman. That's where the famous book is come from. And it's a really, really beautiful, deep book. But it summarizes them in five love language, and they are the words of affirmation, the physical touch, receiving gifts, quality time, acts of service. So it depends on my language. So for example, my language is different than my husband's language. For example, my love language is spending quality time with me. So I really enjoy it. I receive his love when he's actually spending time with me. While his love language might be his word of affirmation when I encourage him, you're doing great, I'm proud of you, actually doing a lot for our family. And it depends on what his love language is. And that's very tricky because sometimes we don't know ourselves what are our love language, which makes it harder to communicate it to the other person. And that's when disagreements come from. And might come across as he ignored me. No, he probably doesn't know that my love language is quality of time. And that's why it's important to communicate. I love it when I receive a gift. And when it comes to physical touch, it might be just holding hands or having a kiss on the cheek, or it's just something just to say, hey, I'm here with you. I'm here for you.
Yep.
Something like that. So some people, their love language is receiving gifts. It can be as small as whatever it might be, just, a card or making a coffee for you or flowers, as you mentioned earlier, or something like that. Acts of service is like when you do something for me. For example, it might be just, what, I'm tired today. Are you able to pick up the kids from school? I won't be able to cook dinner today. Would you like me to bring something on my way home? This is just things, but we won't get to know this unless we speak the language because I'm different than he's different. So we need to communicate our languages so we can have something in like understanding on how we can satisfy each other and speak the language that satisfy each of us.
These podcasts have been brought to you by Better Financial Planning Australia. To book a free 15-minute phone chat, visit betterfinancialplanning.com.au. And I think it's important when you're aware of the other person's love language as well. It does make life a little bit easier as well. Like, for example,
Yes.
funny story, but I've got a friend called Tony, and Tony's love language is barbecues. So
Nice.
you could give Tony a check for $1,000. Probably be happy with that. But if you invite him over for a barbecue, it'll be worth a lot more than any of that. Like that's his love. Like that's what means something to him. So I always say that to him as a bit of a joke. I know it doesn't relate at all to couples, but it just relates to what's important to one person or what means a lot to them is going to be different to another.
Yeah.
And would I be right in saying this is where you see a lot of conflict where, for example, one person, and I don't know if I saw this in a movie or if I was talking to someone about this, but where in different genders, it doesn't have to be this way, of course, like every person in a relationship has different roles, but as an example in this story, the husband was the one working all the time and his thing was providing and didn't see his family, and for him he felt like that was doing enough, and to his wife, providing of course was important, but to her more important than that was acts of service and quality time, and she wasn't getting any of that, and she and it caused some serious conflict because he thought he was doing the right thing and he was doing the right thing, but he thought he was doing all he had to do because to him, his love language is providing, acts of, I think it's acts of service, basically being a provider.
Yep.
But yeah, there was a bit of a misalignment, and not that they need to align, but they weren't aware of each other's love language or this whole thing, and it caused a big issue. Is this something that you see that's very common? And when you do mention it to couples, do you find that sometimes the penny does drop and they think, aha?
Yes, you nailed it here. Yes, it is true. I think sometimes we're not aware of what actually I love. So I can't communicate this as a other person. And that's again when we get so busy with life or with kids or with work, wherever it might be, we get tangled it's very interesting with my couple sometimes, and we're kind of having they have a disagreement, and I will ask, okay, what do you need in this moment? What do you feel like you need in this moment? And she looks at me and she said, I actually don't know. Because sometimes we live we live on autopilot mode where we just attend to everyone else's need without knowing what do we actually need.
Yep.
So if we're not aware and we have the self-awareness of what do we actually need, we can't communicate that. So if I'm aware that actually quality time is something big for me, I would say, hey, would you like to spend some time to me after we put the kids in bed? Or would you like to go for a coffee after we drop the kids tomorrow? So it can be communicated. And I think that's where the misunderstanding and where is the disagreements come from, because it's not communicated. And not necessarily the example you mentioned is really beautiful, because the husband thought that because by providing he's doing his best. Yes, he is doing his best, but it doesn't speak the language. They kind of two different radio frequency, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And for her, it might be acts of service, it might be something different.
Yep. And what would so we've mentioned always dating, we've mentioned love languages, and understanding the other person's love language. What would you say the third thing is as well?
I would say as well, when you people are hurt, speak gently instead of attacking. Something I see a lot in the counseling room is we jump quickly into attacking the other person, which is when we say you. And in theory, they say if the more the time we mention you, this is kind of people when they get more defensive. So if I'm hurt if one of the couple, like if the partner is hurt or something like that, or not feeling well, or something happened, or disagreement, or something that just shake the relationship, I would always invite them to, okay, let's speak about it. Let's acknowledge that there's something that's hurtful here, but also speak about it gently without attacking the other person, because sometimes they have no idea that they have done this. They have no idea that they cause hurt, or they didn't have the intention to actually hurt you. So it's nice sometimes when you speak about it gently and approach it from a gentle place. I'm sure you didn't mean to ignore me when you didn't, but I'm sure you probably have been busy. I would have loved if you spent more time with me. Something between those lines. I'm not sure if Michael, have you heard about the sandwich technique, when we mention something nice and we give like the feedback, and then we mention something nice again at the end. So I always encourage them to do that.
Yeah. Can you tell me about the sandwich technique? But just before that, I just wanted to just continue on what you said. I think that's a very good point as well, because I think in any situation especially when there's conflict or mixed emotions or high emotions, as soon as somebody feels judged or they're feeling not threatened, but like they're having the finger pointed at them, basically, their natural instinct usually is probably to get defensive. When the last thing you want in a negotiation or a discussion or a misunderstanding or an argument or a confrontation or anything for someone to feel that way. You want people to be open and listening to each other. So yes, that's very interesting. It's like just using the word you, because it's like you this. But please, if you can please explain that the sandwich. Did you call it a sandwich theory or sandwich?
It's a sandwich technique, yeah. So the
Sandwich
sandwich
technique,
technique, yeah, it's a very interesting one. They do it even in corporate and business when coaching people who are in the business or corporate. But it's a nice technique to use with everyone. It's like, do you know how the sandwich have like the two patties and you've got the meat in between? So you've got like they say something nice in the beginning. Okay, I really appreciate that I'll use the same example you mentioned earlier about the man who's providing. I really appreciate that you go out and provide all this for us and you work tirelessly for our family. And then I'll give my feedback in the beginning without mentioning you or attacking. And I'll say, but I would love to if you can spend more time with me. And I will end it with something nice. I would say, because I value our relationship together, or I value connecting with you, or I value. So I bring it from a space where I express what's hurting me. I express what I need. And instead of you don't spend time with me, you ignore me, and we go to the loop of criticism and defensiveness. I hope this answers your question.
It does. I'm actually going to probably mention it to my wife, so because it'll be good to get some compliments every time it's
Yes, yes.
it's good. It sounds very like it makes a lot of sense, and I think
Yep.
and we've all heard that saying. It's not what someone says; it's how they say it.
Definitely. I agree.
And there are definitely nicer ways to say things than others. The problem is not everyone is able to control their words that is as easily as others as well. Like I'm okay at
Mm,
controlling my words because I talk for a living. But some people are probably not as good at controlling their words
yeah.
sometimes, and maybe they do let their emotions get to them a lot easier. I'm definitely not
Mm,
perfect. My emotions do get to me.
we
But
all do. Yeah.
I think it's probably easier for some than others as well, of course, to control, especially when they're feeling emotional or upset or angry or sad or
Mm.
anything like that. But yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
And
it takes, I think again, I will emphasize this because I'm a big believer of that and I'm advocating for that with parenting and marriage because we take it for like, it's day to day, we take it for granted sometimes. We forgot that it needs time and effort, like anything else. So the more we give it its time and effort, the more we have the capacity to bring it from a space, a calmer space, not from attacking space, if that makes sense.
yeah, no,
And
it
I
does.
bring it from the space of I, because I'm expressing what I feel and what I need.
Yes. Yeah.
So it less attacking because the more that as soon as we start attacking the other person, um, we lost them in the conversation basically.
Yeah.
So they became more defensive and they became more kind of attacking us back, and which gets really tangled and nasty in the relationship.
Doesn't help anyone.
Nah,
No,
nah. In
makes sense.
any, not only couples, in even friendships, in any, with in parenting, in anywhere. I think this is one of the techniques, and I'm trying to bring it from to the couples that I see is to some practical example day to day. It just we need to give it a little bit of time and effort, and like anything else, our brain rewire to do it. The more we do it, the more we'll train our brain to do it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and lastly, what would you say the last tip would be for a tip for a couple, whether it's they're in a marriage already or they're about to enter a marriage, another tip that
Mm.
you'd give for a happy and healthy marriage?
Yeah. The one I would love to live with people is always look, we're living in a world, I can't promise that we're not having disagreements or we won't have conflicts. This is kind of, we can't promise that. So we're going to have problems and that's okay. But remember, we're fighting the problem. We're not fighting each other. We
Yes.
need to come together. And it's very funny when we do in couple therapy, when we do the first sessions of the assessment and intakes and we're understanding each other well, we actually monitor and see how people talk. Are they speaking as we or they speaking as I?
Yes.
Because the more that we speak about we, that's actually a team. We're working together as a team in this relationship, and we tackle wherever the problem is. Whether the problem is in we're struggling parenting, we're struggling financially, we're struggling with the in-laws, we're struggling in our jobs, wherever the problem is, we're fighting it together. So we are together without attacking. We're not fighting each other, and this helps couples to grow together, don't grow apart. Because what happens is, might find a person who's really successful, lots of studying and their career, they're really, really successful. And the other person kind of looking after the house and the kids, and they kind of, they grow apart. They don't grow together. So when they have a problem, they fight it individually, not together.
I
So
like
it's
that.
really, really important that when we have a challenge or anything, we look to it as, okay, let's get together. We are in one team, we are on one side, and let's face this together. So when we pass this challenge, we're kind of taking another step in our relationship to grow together. We don't grow apart from each other.
I love that, Mariana, and I think that's
Yeah.
literally a perfect way to finish it off, and it's
Yes.
a good last note. Like the fact that you said to grow together, not apart, fighting the problem, not each other. Like I think that's so
Yes.
powerful. There is so much in that, you know.
It is very powerful. And it actually helped me in my own relationship to
Yeah,
understand that we in this together, we're not
yes,
against each other.
yes. And can I ask you as well if anybody wanted to
Yep.
get in contact with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
So I have my own website up and running now. It's called mindandsoulcounseling.com.au. It has all my details on it, and it has my social media. So I have a Facebook page and I have an Instagram page, Mind and Soul Counseling. I'm not really good with social media, but I'm trying to get to know this world. But yeah, the website will be the easiest way of contacting me, mindandsoulcounseling.com.au.
Yeah, amazing. And I'll put that URL in the description of this podcast episode as well.
Yes, and you've got on the LinkedIn as well. That's another way of contacting me, or my number, whatever it might be. It's all on website. They're all in one place on website. So one thing to contact me, whether their website or their phone call or email, I'm happy to help in different ways.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. And Marianna, I like to
Thanks,
finish all my
Michael.
episodes off with a dad joke.
Yeah. Oh, please. That's a nice way of finishing it.
And so I tried to find some dating jokes or some marriage ones, but I can't. So I just nothing appropriate for this podcast. So I'll just this one's a good one, but it's
Okay.
why
share it with me, please.
why are cats bad storytellers? Why are cats bad storytellers? Because they only have one tail.
Oh man, come on, Michael.
It was a good one. You have to admit it. It's good. It's got two sides to it, and it's not bad.
Very funny.
It's not bad.
It's a nice one. I love the way you finishing the podcast with that. That's really give it a nice way of finishing. That's beautiful.
Well, to be honest with you, no one. The thing is, it's before I became a dad. People said to me that I was going to be a good dad, and I said, "Why?" They said, "Because you've got good dad jokes." And I said, "Okay, great, thank you." And with this podcast, the good thing is, like, I mean, no one can tell me not to. So it's.
I'm not sure if you heard this one or not, but I will share this one with you.
Yes.
Everyone told Sam not to sing, but Sam sang anyway.
Sam sang anyway. I like that.
Sam sang.
I like that.
It's not as good as that jokes, but at least I tried.
No, it was good. It was good. I like it.
Thanks, Michael. I really appreciate you having me today. Thanks for your time.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on Sharing More Than the Sheets. Please make sure you subscribe to be updated with future episode releases, and feel free to share this episode with any friends or family that you think it might benefit. Please visit us at sharingmorethanthesheets.com.au to submit questions or requests for future podcast topics. These podcasts have been brought to you by Better Financial Planning Australia. To book a 15-minute phone chat, visit betterfinancialplanning.com.au.